Semitism is a conspiracy theory. We need to recognize that part of its kind of evil power is the fact that it's malleable and it adapts to different environments. And like all conspiracy theories, it's very hard to prove a negative. So the prejudice, the myth that Jews have too much power, and then Jews push back on that and they're accused of, you see you have too much power, like that's definitely a conundrum on one level, but I think through education and building awareness we can address it. It really matters to share with people, and that's why if you go to anti-semitism.adl.org, we've done a lot, we work with scholars to lay out the most common anti-Semitic myths. Through education and awareness building, we can teach people, and in doing so thwart the stereotype.
Where do things stand right now with Kyrie Irving? Are there any ongoing discussions?
Not with me. The Nets are having ongoing discussions with him. The Brooklyn Nets, the team he played for, they suspended him. They gave him a series of steps that he had to undertake in order to return to the club. One of them was to meet with Jewish leaders. I've said I'd be willing to meet with him. I'd do it this afternoon. But he hasn't approached me or us. Frankly, we were reached out to by his camp a couple weeks ago, and they wanted, we'd worked out an arrangement. They wanted to write us a check to support anti-Semitism education, which I was willing to accept until it became clear that he was not only insincere, he was tremendously insincere. That's when I declined the funds. I don't think you can, I don't want anyone to ever say that ADL could be bought. Someone could give us money that would someone exonerate them. That's not the case at all. I don't believe in cancel culture. I believe in counsel culture. I believe even if someone errs, and we all err. Every year, on Yom Kippur, we're reminded that we all sin, right? We all have to repent. And yet, if you're willing to do that, then I'm willing to embrace you. But if you're not authentic, if you're not genuine, if you're insincere, then I don't want anything to do with you, and that's the case here.
Are you concerned? I guess, I'm sure you are concerned. How concerned are you about what's happening right now with the likes of Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, and the relationship between Jews and the African American community in America? I know you have stood side by side with black leadership in fighting, not only fighting anti-Semitism, but fighting all kinds of hate. Are you concerned that relations are becoming more strained between these two minority communities?
Look, so a few things. So let's acknowledge right off the bat that the Jewish community is a multi-ethnic, multi-racial community. There are Jews of color who identify as African American. Even amongst, the fellow, it's 3 years ago that there was this shooting in Jersey City, committed by this shooting at the kosher supermarket. 3 people were killed. That was a black Hebrew Israelite. But there's a broad spectrum of African Americans who have a Jewish tradition, some of whom identify as, I think, Israelites, and there's some of them are in Israel too. Even that's a spectrum. But so I think it's important is just to qualify up front and remind people that our community is varied. We're not all, Ashkenazi from Europe. So that's number one. Then I think number two, there have been ties and there have been tensions at the grassroots level between the black and Jewish community for ages. It's not new. The reality is that some of our greatest triumphs, I think the things we're really proud of as an American Jewish community, were done in collaboration and partnership with the African American community in the 50s and the 60s, standing for civil rights. And yet at the same time, Malcolm X, if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley, there's a lot of anti-Semitism in there. Louis Farrakhan is still feted by certain segments of the black community. And at the same time, on a regular basis, I'm in touch with leaders from places like the NAACP, the Urban League, Color of Change, the Lawyers Committee, the Legal Defense Fund. These are some of our stalwart allies. So I think there have been ties, and yet there are tensions, and it isn't new. There is a complexity, though, in figures who are so prominent in popular culture, like Kanye and Kyrie, who occupy a disproportionate degree of attention, particularly in, if you will, youth culture. That's a challenge. So we need to recognize that we're never going to win just by upbraiding people, by chastising them. If we really want to fight hate, we need to win hearts and minds. You win people's heart by reaching out to them authentically and engaging in open and constructive dialogue. We win people's minds by educating them and making them aware of the issues. So I think we've ultimately got to do both.